Okay, imagine this. What if science, art, and spirituality weren't really separate things? What if they were, I don't know, deeply intertwined, part of one big picture?
That's a pretty big idea, right? And it leads us straight to today's topic, Anthroposophy.
Exactly. Developed by Rudolf Steiner, early 20th century.
And it's not really a religion in the usual sense or some fixed dogma. Steiner actually called it a spiritual science.
Spiritual science.
Yeah.
Aiming to bridge that gap we often feel, yeah? Between like the scientific, the artistic, the religious parts of life.
Precisely. He saw it as a path of knowledge, a way to connect the spiritual spark within us, to the spiritual out there in the universe.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to really unpack this. We want to give you a solid, well-rounded look at anthroposophy.
Yeah, we'll dig into where it came from, its really unique view of humans and the cosmos.
Its practical side, which is surprisingly broad. We like Waldorf schools, biodynamic farming.
And we definitely have to touch on the controversies too. It's not without its critics.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. Where do we even start? I guess with the founder, Rudolf Steiner himself.
Makes sense. His journey is key. And what's interesting is he didn't start out as some kind of mystic figure. Not at all.
Right. He was actually a serious academic first, a respected scholar focused on Johann Wolfgang von Goethe.
Exactly. He edited Goethe's scientific writings, wrote detailed analyses, very rigorous stuff, and his early big philosophical work, The Philosophy of Freedom.
That argued for, what was it? Ethical individualism based on sense-free thinking.
That's it. So a very grounded philosophical beginning.
But then things shifted. Dramatically, it seems.
They did. Around the turn of the 20th century, he took this decisive spiritual turn. He joined the Theosophical Society, even became a leader in its German section.
And started talking about his own spiritual research, clairvoyant findings.
Yes, thousands of lectures, books, basically laying out the entire system of anthroposophy based on what he claimed were direct, super-sensible perceptions.
Which eventually led to a major break with the Theosophists, didn't it? Around 1912.
Big time. It wasn't just a small disagreement. There were major ideological clashes.
Over Christ's role, for one. And that whole World Teacher project with Krishnamurti.
Those were central points, yes. Steiner placed Christ at the absolute center of cosmic evolution in a way the Theosophical leadership didn't. And he rejected the Krishnamurti initiative. So he and his followers split off and founded the Anthroposophical Society.
Okay, so back to that spiritual science idea. How did he justify that claim? It seems linked to his Goethe work somehow.
It is deeply linked. Remember how Goethe approached nature, not just analyzing, but sort of imaginatively entering into the phenomenon, trying to grasp its inner essence.
Yeah, like trying to perceive the Erbpflanze, the archetypal plant behind all plants.
Exactly. Goethe saw thinking itself as an organ of perception, just like the eye or ear. Steiner took that idea and, well, ran with it radically.
How so?
He argued that just as Goethe trained his perception for the archetypal plant, we could train our thinking to become an organ for perceiving spiritual realities.
Ah, so it's an extension of Goethe's method into the supersensible.
Precisely. He claimed this trained thinking could directly apprehend things like the etheric and astral world's dimensions normally invisible to us. That's the basis for calling it a science, a rigorous, albeit spiritual, form of investigation.
Right, that's a huge conceptual leap.
Yeah.
Okay, so building on that foundation, how does anthroposophy actually view us, the human being?
It's a really layered view. We're seen as a microcosm reflecting the macrocosm, made up of different interacting principles or bodies, some visible, some invisible.
Okay, break that down for us. What are these layers or bodies?
Well, first, obviously, there's the physical body, our material structure, kind of like the mineral kingdom, right? Lifeless on its own.
Got it. The basic physical shell. What's next?
Then comes the etheric body, or the life body. This is described as a super-sensible field of formative forces. It permeates the physical, gives it life, growth, regeneration.
So like chi or prana, that kind of vital force concept.
Yeah.
Shared with plants.
Similar idea, yeah. Shared with the plant kingdom. Then, layered onto that is the astral body, or soul body.
Astral. It sounds more like consciousness.
Yeah.
Feelings.
Exactly. It's the vehicle for sentience, emotions, pleasure, pain, inner experience. We share this level with the animal kingdom.
Okay, physical, etheric, astral. What makes humans unique in this model?
That's the I, sometimes called the ego, but not in the Freudian sense. It's our unique spiritual core, the bearer of self-awareness, rational thought, moral judgment, freedom.
And this I is only present in humans, on Earth at least.
In the specific form of self-awareness, yes. And it's the principle that can consciously work on and transform the other bodies. That's crucial.
Wow. Okay, so that's the fourfold structure. But you also mentioned a threefold organization. How does that fit in?
Yeah, the threefold model is maybe more functional, more practical for things like medicine and education. It divides us into three dynamic systems.
Which are?
First, the nerve sense system, centered in the head, governs thinking, perception. Steiner associated it with cooling, hardening processes.
Okay, head, thinking, cool. What's the middle?
The rhythmic system, centered in the chest, heart, and lungs. This mediates between the head and the limbs, between thinking and willing. It's seen as the seat of feeling, connected to rhythmic processes.
Makes sense. Rhythmic system, chest, feeling. And the third?
The metabolic limb system, centered in the abdomen and limbs, governs metabolism, movement, action, or will forces, associated with warmth, dissolving processes.
So head, chest, limbs, thinking, feeling, willing. And health is balance.
Exactly. Health is seen as a harmonious interplay between these three systems. Illness often arises when one system becomes dominant or out of balance with the others.
I see how that could be applied practically. So going back to the eye, you said it's evolving, it's not just static?
Not at all. A core idea in anthroposophy is that the human eye is on a long evolutionary journey. The ultimate goal over many lifetimes is for the eye to consciously work on and spiritualize the lower bodies.
Spiritualize them.
By transforming them into higher spiritual principles. The astral body eventually becomes spirit self, the etheric becomes life spirit, and even the physical body is ultimately transformed into spirit man.
That sounds vast. You got connects to ideas like karma and reincarnation, right?
Absolutely. They are fundamental. The human spirit is seen as eternal, passing through many earthly lives and periods in the spiritual world between lives to gather experiences for this evolution.
Is the idea of karma here just simple cause and effect? You do good, good happens.
It's more nuanced than that. Karma is a universal law, yes, shaping our circumstances based on past actions. But it's not just reward or punishment. It's about creating the right conditions for learning and development.
And there's that really unique idea about the life review after death.
Yes. That's quite distinct. The idea is that after death, the spirit re-experiences its past life, but from the perspective of everyone else affected by its actions.
Wow, you feel the impact you had on others.
Directly. And this generates a deep, empathetic, moral impulse that helps shape the intentions and destiny for the next life.
So from this viewpoint, things like illness or hardship aren't just random.
They're seen as having meaning, as potentially karmically necessary opportunities for the soul to work through something, to learn, to grow stronger. It can give a different perspective on suffering.
Okay, that's the individual journey. But Steiner also described this huge cosmic backdrop, didn't he? These planetary stages of evolution.
He did, a grand cosmic narrative. Our current Earth is seen as the fourth major stage, or incarnation, of our planetary system.
Fourth stage. What came before?
It's described in quite metaphorical terms. First was old Saturn, a condition primarily of warmth, where the very first seed of the physical body was laid down.
Just warmth, okay. Then
old Sun, a more gaseous or airy state where the etheric body was integrated. Think of it like a planetary breeding stage, maybe akin to plant life.
Fascinating. And the third?
Old Moon, a denser, more watery stage where the astral body was woven in, allowing for animal-like sentience and feeling.
And now, Earth, our current stage.
Is where the I, the ego, is being integrated. This is the stage for developing self-awareness, freedom, and ultimately love. And the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms around us are seen as beings that kind of solidified at those earlier stages, not developing the I in the same way.
That's an incredible cosmology.
Yeah.
And right at the center of the Earth stage, Steiner places the Christ impulse.
Yes. This is absolutely central to his whole system. And crucially, he presented it not just as a religious belief, but as an objective cosmic event, the pivotal turning point for Earth evolution.
How do you differentiate between, say, Jesus, the person, and this Christ being?
He made a clear distinction. Jesus of Nazareth was a unique human being who prepared the vessel. The Christ being was a sublime, cosmic, solar spirit who united with Jesus for the last 3 years of his life.
And the crucifixion, the mystery of Golgotha, what was its significance in this view?
It wasn't just a human death. It was the moment the Christ being fully united with the Earth's spiritual sphere, pouring forces of love and freedom into earthly evolution itself.
Counteract materialism?
Exactly. To give humanity the spiritual strength needed to develop the I in freedom, to overcome purely materialistic forces, and to eventually find the spirit through individual insight, not just external authority.
So teachings like the Sermon on the Mount are seen as reflecting this shift.
Yes, interpreted as signaling the move from external laws, thou shalt not, to an internalized capacity for love and moral intuition, springing freely from the developed human eye. It's a cosmic interpretation of Christianity, really.
Which brings us back to how one actually accesses this kind of spiritual knowledge Steiner described. He wasn't advocating for old-style trance mediumship, was he?
No, quite the opposite. He argued that modern consciousness requires a new kind of spiritual perception, one that's fully awake, clear, precise like scientific thinking, but directed towards the supersensible, not a return to ancient, dreamlike clairvoyance.
So he outlined a specific training path,
Yeah.
steps towards this higher cognition.
Yes, a rigorous step-by-step path. The first stage he called imagination. This isn't fantasy, but developing the ability to perceive the spiritual archetypes and formative forces behind physical phenomena.
Like seeing the etheric body of a plant we talked about.
So exactly, seeing its life pattern, its energetic blueprint with inner perception.
Okay, imagination. What's next?
Inspiration. This involves moving beyond pictures to perceive the activities and interrelationships of spiritual beings, the flow of forces. This is said to open up insights into karma, the workings of destiny, cosmic evolution,
And the highest stage.
intuition. This is described as a direct, unmediated cognitive union with spiritual reality, a direct knowing, almost becoming one with the spiritual essence of things.
That sounds incredibly demanding. Did he give any preparatory exercises?
Oh yes, very important. 6 basic or foundational exercises focused on developing inner control and moral qualities. Control of thought, control of will, taking initiative, control of feeling, achieving equanimity, positivity, finding the good, open-mindedness, impartiality, and inner balance, harmonizing the others.
But here's the tension, isn't it? Steiner emphasizes individual freedom, verifying things for yourself. Yet the path he lays out seems designed to lead you to perceive the exact same, incredibly detailed spiritual world he already described.
That's the core epistemological paradox and a major point of criticism. How independent can the research really be if the goal is essentially to confirm the founder's findings?
Right. Critics argue it creates a closed system. There's no real way to falsify the claims from within the framework. If your clairvoyant experience differs, it's seen as your error in perception, not a flaw in the map Steiner provided.
Exactly. It raises questions about authority versus genuine individual discovery. It's a significant philosophical challenge within anthroposophy itself.
Despite these deep philosophical questions, Steiner was adamant that spiritual insights needed to be applied, made practical.
Absolutely. He didn't want it to be just theory. And this led to some really significant practical movements.
The most famous being Waldorf education, I suppose. It's everywhere.
It really is. Over 1,200 schools, many more kindergartens worldwide. And it's directly based on Steiner's model of child development, the 7-year phases we touched on, seen as stages of the spirit gradually incarnating.
So the curriculum is tailored to these phases.
Very much so. It aims for holistic development, head, hands, and heart. Early years, 0 to 7, focus on imitation, rhythm, play, practical activity, fostering a sense that the world is good.
And then elementary school.
Ages 7 to 14, the focus shifts to feeling, imagination, art, storytelling, developing a sense that the world is beautiful. Learning through artistic experience is key.
Then high school, 14-21.
That's seen as the time the I fully awakens intellectually, so the focus shifts towards abstract thinking, independent judgment, understanding causality, nurturing the idea that the world is true.
But, as you mentioned, they don't explicitly teach anthroposophy itself to the kids.
No, that's a crucial point often made. Anthroposophy informs the teacher's understanding of the child, the curriculum design, the whole pedagogical approach, but it's not taught as doctrine to the students.
Okay. Moving from schools to farms. Biodynamic agriculture. This goes beyond just organic, right?
Way beyond. Steiner gave these lectures in 1924. It views the farm not just as land, but as a single living organism deeply connected to the wider cosmos, including planetary rhythms.
And the practices are quite distinctive.
They are. The most well-known are the 9 special biodynamic preparations, made from herbs, minerals, animal manures, often involving things like burying substances in cow horns according to seasonal cycles.
The cow horns, right? And using astronomical calendars for planting.
Yes, timing activities like planting and harvesting based on cosmic rhythms. The aim is to enhance the soil's vitality and the life forces within the food produced.
Then there's anthroposophical medicine. How does that work? Is it separate from conventional medicine?
It's presented as an integrative or complementary approach. Practitioners are fully licensed medical doctors who then undertake additional anthroposophical training.
So they use conventional diagnosis and treatment too.
Yes, alongside anthroposophical insights. They view health as that dynamic balance of the threefold system, and illness often as having a biographical or even karmic dimension and opportunity for growth.
And the treatments, are they unique?
They have a specific pharmacopoeia using substances derived from minerals, plants, sometimes animals, often prepared in special, sometimes homeopathic ways, like the mistletoe therapy used in complementary cancer care. They also use non-pharmacological therapies,
Like
art therapies, painting, sculpture, music, rhythmical massage, and therapeutic eurythmy.
Eurythmy again. Let's clarify that. It's a movement art.
Yes, often called visible speech or visible music. It's based on the idea that the underlying formative forces of sounds, vowels, consonants, and musical tones can be expressed through specific, precise bodily gestures and movements.
So each sound has a corresponding gesture.
Essentially, yes. It aims to make the invisible inner dynamics of language and music visible. It's used as a performance art on stage, it's a core part of the Waldorf curriculum, and it's used therapeutically curative eurythmy to harmonize those inner forces.
Okay, so we've seen the ideas and the applications. Now, how does anthroposophy fit into the wider world? Its relationship with other groups and the critiques it faces. Let's start with theosophy.
Right. It grew out of theosophy, sharing core concepts like karma, reincarnation, even the idea of root races, which we'll get to. But the split was fundamental.
Why again, primarily?
Steiner's insistence on the absolute centrality of Christ, his Christocentrism, was key. He saw Christ not as one master among many, as in theosophy, but as the pivotal cosmic being for Earth's evolution. Also, his focus on a Western esoteric path and his rejection of the Krishnamurti project.
And Steiner didn't see himself as founding a new religion, but as revealing the deeper meaning of Christianity.
Exactly, esoteric Christianity. He felt he was unveiling the universal cosmic truths hidden within Christian symbolism and events. This led to the founding of the Christian community, which uses liturgical forms inspired by Steiner's insights, but is independent of the Anthroposophical Society itself.
Okay, now for the tough parts, the major critiques. The pseudoscience label comes up a lot.
It does. From the perspective of mainstream science, anthroposophy just doesn't meet the criteria. Its core claims derive from Steiner's private clairvoyant experiences, which aren't publicly repeatable or verifiable in a scientific sense.
So, unfalsifiable claims and contradictions with established science.
Critics point to both. Things like Steiner's descriptions of biology, which involve vital forces or etheric bodies, his specific claims about physiology, like the heart not being a pump but an impulse organ, or his views on illness, sometimes seeming to downplay germ theory, these clash with scientific consensus.
How do anthroposophists respond?
They argue that conventional science is limited by its materialistic worldview and that spiritual science employs a different but equally rigorous methodology appropriate for investigating non-physical realities. But academically, it's typically studied within departments of religion or Western esotericism, not science.
Then there's the really difficult issue of racial theories. Steiner used the term root races, inherited from theosophy, and made statements that definitely sound hierarchical, linking race, skin color, and spiritual development in ways that are deeply problematic today.
Extremely problematic. His lectures contain passages describing certain races as decadent or representing earlier, less evolved stages of humanity compared to primarily Central Europeans.
What's the defense offered by anthroposophists?
They often emphasize Steiner's core message of individualism, that every single human being carries the divine spark, regardless of race. They argue quotes are taken out of context from lectures given over a century ago, that his terminology evolved, and that he also made many explicitly anti-racist statements condemning prejudice. Some claim he later abandoned the root race concept.
But how do scholars who studied this reconcile these contradictions? People like Peter Staudenmeier.
Scholars like Staudenmeier acknowledge the universalist strands, but conclude that Steiner's work also contains a systematic, internally coherent, and hierarchical theory of racial evolution that runs through it. They see pervasive internal contradictions, not just isolated problematic quotes. It remains a very contentious area.
Moving on to sociological critiques. One is about secrecy or lack of transparency, especially regarding institutions like Waldorf schools.
Yes, the criticism is that the esoteric foundations, the anthroposophical worldview that underpins the pedagogy, aren't always made fully transparent to parents or the public. They might present a more secular or vaguely spiritual face.
Why would that be a problem?
Critics argue it prevents informed consent. People might engage with these institutions without fully understanding the underlying philosophy that shapes them, even if, as proponents stress, anthroposophy itself isn't explicitly taught to, say, school children.
There are also concerns about an authoritarian structure, because so much rests on Steiner's pronouncements.
That's another critique, that the reliance on Steiner's clairvoyant insights can discourage independent critical thinking within the movement and lead to a kind of dogmatic adherence to his specific teachings.
And some former members have described dynamics that felt cult-like.
Yes, some accounts describe intense group cohesion, reverence for Steiner, a tendency to frame professional work within anthroposophy, like teaching or farming, as a spiritual calling, which can make critical questioning or leaving the community difficult. Of course, many members would strongly dispute this characterization.
This seems related to that method versus content defense you mentioned earlier. Can you explain that again?
It's a common way proponents respond to criticism, particularly regarding applications like Waldorf. They'll say, anthroposophy is the method the teachers use to understand child development, but we don't teach the content, the cosmology, the specific spiritual doctrines to the students.
So separating the how from the what's.
Exactly. They present it as using the insights without needing to buy into the whole esoteric system.
But critics argue that's not really possible, that the method is the content in practice.
Critics argue that the method arises directly from the content. The Waldorf curriculum is structured the way it is because of Steiner's specific spiritual understanding of 7-year cycles, the 4 bodies, etc. They see the separation as a rhetorical strategy for public acceptance, arguing you can't truly divorce the practice from its unique esoteric philosophical roots. It's a core point of ongoing debate.
So, wrapping this all up, it's incredibly complex, isn't it? Anthroposophy presents this vast, all-encompassing vision. It aims to connect everything spirit, science, art, human life, the cosmos.
It really does, and for those within it, it offers a profound sense of meaning, purpose, and connection. And its practical initiatives, like Waldorf education or biodynamics, are genuinely influential and often respected for their positive contributions, even by outsiders.
Yeah, it carries these deep, unresolved tensions. That core claim of being a spiritual science versus how mainstream science views it.
Right. And the emphasis on individual freedom versus the undeniable authority of Steiner's own spiritual research.
And perhaps most challenging today, its universalist, humanistic ideals sitting alongside those embedded racial hierarchies from its origins.
Those tensions really define its legacy and its ongoing challenges.
It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? Anthroposophy paints this picture of a world full of spirit, where human life has this grand cosmic significance. Maybe the big question for its future is, can it navigate away from the parts that seem outdated or problematic, those elements tied specifically to its founder's time and context, without losing that unique spark, that spiritual impulse that's clearly inspired so many people worldwide?
That does seem to be the central question. It definitely gives us a lot to reflect on about knowledge, spirit, and our place in the universe.